Okay, the feds didn't find us yet, but they were knocking at the door. Good morning, everybody. I see one of the Steves. I see a couple of Jameses. It's a step in the right direction. We're off to a good start. So, this morning we're going to be talking about the wokeness of Disney and the grotesque abuse of our poor fandom. Star Wars. I remember seeing Star Wars when I was a kid, right? I mean, I've watched the whole trilogy many times since then. When it came out when they re-released it in the theaters, I went and watched the trilogies. I was disappointed along with everybody else in the first trilogy, in the prequel trilogy as well. Not the first trilogy. The prequel trilogy was deeply disappointing, but seems like a masterwork in science fiction compared to the disaster of everything that's come out of them since Disney took over, with the exception of the Mandalorian series. And now, Disney, in their infinite wokeness, have decided that they need to rename Boba Fett's ship from the Slave One.
Yeah.
What you clicking around with there, Cameron?
Oh, I was just getting comfy. I apologize. I'll be a good co-host, I swear. Please don't spank me.
Now, it is also true that Cameron is probably a more well-versed Star Wars nerd than I am. I wish we could get Cade on this morning, because Jesus, that boy is a treasure trove of trivia. But let's dig into this a little bit.
Yes, indeed. As if Disney hasn't ruined Star Wars enough. Now they're engaging in bizarre Alinskyite tactics, and they're going to start decanonizing things that don't need to be decanonized. Boba
now,
Fett.
In fairness, everything that Disney has done, with the exception of The Mandalorian, needs to be decanonized.
Yes, and at this point, if I have to lose The Mandalorian so the rest of it goes too, I'll lose The Mandalorian. It is what it is. Like, the cinematic abortion that was The Last Jedi, and then the, I'll call beautiful mess that was The Rise of Skywalker was just, whew. But
yeah,
anyway.
the first two movies of the Disney trilogy were so awful, I have not even bothered to watch the third one.
It's if a Marvel movie was a Star Wars movie, that's what it is. You don't need to bring your brain. You just need a six-pack and to enjoy the pretty colors. So, but anyway, so now
I went and saw Speed Racer with Mario. Speed Racer was exactly what I expected it to be. We sat down in comfy chairs with popcorn and soda pop, and then somebody came by and stapled our eyes open and poured bright red and blue slushy directly into our face holes. And that's what I expected from the film Speed Racer. Got exactly what I wanted. I went and saw Snakes on a Plane. I heard people complain that, well, it was a stupid movie. It was just a bunch of snakes on a plane. I'm like, guys.
Did you read the packaging?
The name of the movie was Snakes on a Plane. When I order a number 2 at McDonald's, I don't expect a filet mignon. I get what I expected. When I went to see The Force Awakens, I expected to see a Star Wars movie. And I was greeted with this grotesque cinematic abortion of Mary Sue and identity politics.
Yeah. So, anyway, the Slave One. Boba Fett is a character from the original trilogy, i.e. the good one. And when he first showed up, he didn't actually show up first in the movie. He showed up in the Christmas special that is still the worst Star Wars movie ever made. It's almost impossible to find because it is so bad, okay? But he first showed up, and he was this cool dude with this cool armor that maybe was going to try and stab Han Solo in the back, and it was actually kind of filler to tease him for the upcoming Empire Strikes Back. And then, of course, in full cinematic glory, he was quite impressive, and he is a bounty hunter, and he's not even really evil per se. He's just a neutral mercenary, gets hired by Darth Vader, and ends up being the one to capture Han Solo. I'm sure we've all seen Star Wars. We know the most romantic movie scene ever happens at the end of it. I love you. I know. Boom. Classic cinema, rather, is what I'm trying to say. But the name of his ship was the Slave One. And, of course, it's so named because Boba Fett's not above a little slavery here and there. Just whatever. He's a neutral mercenary. It is what it is. So Disney has decided, oh, gosh, man, what an offensive name. We just need to change it. Yeah, sure, it's been named that for 40 years now. Literally, that's what it's been called for 40 years. But we're just going to change it because it makes us uncomfortable. And it's more of the get woke, go broke kind of stuff. And while on the one hand, this seems like such a small point to argue over, like it's the name of a ship from a second-tier character in a 40-year-old movie. Why do you care? Well, I care not just because I'm tired of the things that I love being used against me. Oh, you like Terminator movies? Well, we're going to make super woke bullshit Terminator movies and slap you upside the face with them. Glad you enjoyed your childhood. It's not just that. It's the language itself. It's the fact that now we're going to try and avoid saying the word slave. And I have a real problem anytime we take language off the table. Because when you take language off the table, if there's a dispute about the concept that underlies that language, the only way to resolve the dispute is with violence. And excuse me, maybe this is a very naive Pollyannish view, but I thought the goal was to try and avoid resolving disputes with violence.
Hey, real quick, Jamie makes a good point. I didn't even think about this because it just didn't occur to me that the name of the ship was little known, but actually he's right. It's only not the hardcores, but it's people who have followed Star Wars at least tangentially for a long time that even know that the name of the ship is the Slave One. And Jamie's pointing out, most people didn't even know that's what the ship's name was. They will now. Now that there's going to be some press around the stink of it, it's like if you lose in the Olympics, and then you're the more popular, your name is more well known because you got up on the stage and stood in the bronze slot and pitched a temper tantrum.
I had no idea they were going to play the national anthem at an Olympic-related event. Help!
And
the white people set me up.
And if you hate the national anthem and white people, you don't get to sports ball for America. Except apparently you do, but you shouldn't. Anyway, that's not today's topic.
But it's not terribly unrelated.
It's not. That's just a burr in my saddle this morning.
But there's this weird dichotomy because on the one hand, changing the name of this ship is like #FreeOurGirls. It's meaningless words. Like, we're not going to erase slavery just because we change the name of one cool-ass ship that a cool-ass character, piloted in a couple of movies. No. But then again, at the same time, because all the corporations seem to have this like weird, bizarre nexus where they take money from China, and as you go left, you go woke, but actually there's a lot of stuff in Chinese culture that's not going to be congruent if they ever become the dominant world power. Like, you think we treat gay people bad? Ask about how that works in China. You think we treat black people bad? Ask about how that works in China. So this bizarre fusion of inclusion but exclusion it's really dangerous. And I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of in two minds on it, because on the one hand, it is so pointless, it is so meaningless, it is just virtue signaling. Like, seriously, don't get a crick in your neck for virtue signaling so hard. You're gonna get a cramp, okay? But on the other hand, the reasons behind the virtue signaling and the concepts of the elimination of language, that is like pure Saul Alinsky type stuff. Because if you control the language, you control the rules. And if you control the rules, it doesn't matter what the game is, because now you control the rules. You can tilt the scales in your favor forever. And I'm actually the one that suggested that topic for this exact reason. Because it's the language. It's always the language.
And it's not just the language. Words are powerful things. When you take away the words, like you said, like you said, if you can't discuss a thing, then its controversy will lead to violence. If you do not have the option to simply discuss and to argue, and to develop an idea and to try and fail with ideas, then violence is the eventual outcome. But even more, when you change the language, the objective here is not just to erase the Slave One, is not just to change the name of the ship. Over time, what the left is trying to do is to erase the record of slavery having occurred. Guys,
except if they want to make white people feel bad.
You don't hide a thing because you're trying to get rid of it. You hide a thing so that nobody comes to take it away from you. You hide a thing to protect it. The policies of Barack Obama resulted in the reopening of open-air slave markets in several African countries. Human trafficking, sex slaves, and all of that are still very much a real thing globally. You don't hide something that you want rid of. You hide a thing that you want to protect.
Well, that makes sense, because it has been the Democrats pretty much from day one that wanted Jim Crow, that wanted slavery. I mean, I remember how eye-opening it was. It was not only a Democrat president, but it was also the first super educated Woodrow Wilson himself, the guy with a PhD. He's the one who told the military he was going to do it a favor by segregating it.
Yep.
That's right, folks. Even through all of our ugly racist history that includes slavery in the military before Woodrow Wilson, there was only one color, and it was green. And it was a lefty. It was a super smart, highly educated lefty that said, no, actually a little more.
One might even go so far as to say he was an expert.
Yeah, trust the experts. We can't even go down that rabbit hole. Anything related to the My Sharona Cyrus, we can't do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, quick aside from this morning's show prep, guys. We're not doing a WTF CCPNN today because the entire front page of CCPNN is verboten My Sharona Cyrus and just a little bit of amphibian priapism, none of which we can discuss on YouTube's. So we'll be talking about those and hopefully some additional segments off platform in the near future. But here's the other thing about erasing slavery, erasing concepts. So when you change the name of the ship, you get rid of the Slave One ship. Cameron's right. By and large, the original Mandalorian, Boba Fett, the character is technically a neutral bounty hunter. But when he was first introduced, while he may be a bounty hunter, he was still aligned with the bad guys. He was a bad guy for the original trilogy, right? Now that we see the Mandalorian series and we see how that canon, that mythos has developed There's nuance there that's interesting and that's fun, and that's all well and good. But to erase the name of Slave One and erase the idea of slavery, the message that you're giving me there is slavery is no longer an attribute that can be attributed to bad people, which means that slavery is no longer an attribute that I can see associated with a person and then use that attribute to judge that that person is bad, which also means that the idea of abolishing slavery can no longer be associated with as a good quality for people. Because let's not forget, it was the Republican Party that abolished slavery in America.
Yeah, the Republican Party started out as a single platform party. The cessation of the growth of slavery and the eventual abolishment of slavery. That's why the Republican Party came into existence. And one could argue that it's one of the only third parties to come along and supplant one of the primary two parties ever. And it's because the issue was that important to Americans. And I would amend what you're saying just a little bit. There is one type of slavery that is always going to be omnipresent and part of the zeitgeist, because people have got to feel bad, and we've got to start teaching 5-year-olds critical race theory. And that is all the times white Americans owned black slaves. That one is never going to go away. Because we have to feel guilty about things that happened before any of us were born, see? Because if you don't feel guilty, if you don't feel, you can't be manipulated. I know I say this a lot on this show, but if you want to manipulate somebody, the only path to manipulation is emotion. Period.
Well, and let's not forget this. Speaking of manipulation and emotion, let's go back in the Wayback Machine to just under a year ago. Disney thanks Chinese labor camp authorities in Mulan credits. The new Mulan movie is facing a barrage of criticism, a promise to boycott, for filming near Chinese concentration camps and then thanking the Chinese Communist Party for the privilege. The film, a live-action version of the 1998 Disney cartoon by the same name, is based on Chinese folklore about a young woman, Hua Mulan, who pretends to be a boy so that she can fight in her father's place when he is conscripted into the Chinese army. In a sense, it's a tale about cleverness, bravery, and familial love helping to overcome hardships brought about by a violent, overbearing government, blah, blah, blah. And yes, China is a violent, overbearing government. China currently operates, we criticize China for sweatshops, and we call that slavery kind of analogously, where you have people working for extremely low wages and extremely poor conditions. But
$2 a day to build your iPhone, baby.
And there's a whole... I can actually offer a pretty full-throated and reasonable defense of that work. But that's a whole nother chain to go down. The point to come back to is that it's one thing to say that China has these sweatshops and that's like slavery. It's quite another to point out that, no, there are currently ethnic concentration camps and religious persecution concentration camps where slavery is practiced. And I mean, God, there was the whole controversy where the CCP was basically caught. This is no longer some Alex Jones conspiracy crap. They were caught basically exterminating the Falun Gong religious sect and harvesting organs from those people to sell on the black market, which it's hardly even black. It's more like gray market sales, because it's the government doing it. It's a little different than, if I was to borrow your kidneys and leave you in a bathtub full of ice. Yes, I said borrow, because I'll let you work that math out for the chuckles. But it's Disney. Look, it's Disney, who is one of these massive American corporations that's paying active deference to the enemies of the United States of America, offering them aid and comfort, and now taking steps with the simple labeling and language in their artistic productions to bow deference and avert possible criticism, or at least avert their own individual association with any possible criticism of their Chinese communist masters.
Well, and the thing that's, you want to even take it to the next level, China's already genocided the Uyghurs. It's just happening in slow motion. But
Yeah,
it's already
they're
done.
genociding the Uyghurs. Present progressive.
Well, I mean, the fact that like they've forced sterilization of all these people, that culture is just going to dry up on its own.
Yeah.
Or it's highly likely they'll end up being sort of like the Zoroastrians. Have you ever met a Zoroastrian? Probably not. There's a reason
I actually
why.
have.
I said probably not.
They are few and far between, and you're not likely to encounter them unless you intentionally travel in some theologically bizarre circles, which I have done. And the Zoroastrians, that's an interesting religion. I've met a handful of them, but they're very, very rare.
So the thing that is really fascinating to me and also frustrating to me is I really feel like at some point in time, capitalism has to come knocking on the door. George Lucas was paid literal billions of dollars for the Star Wars franchise. And it has been managed extremely poorly. You can blame Kathleen Kennedy. I think it's very clear that her association with George Lucas and Steven Spielberg and all of that, like she was riding on the coattails of people basically better at making movies than her. But by now, it should have been a profit. It should have been like a literal money printing machine for Disney. Now, part of what made George Lucas so stupid rich is everybody laughed at his idea in the beginning. So he said, fine, if I'm going to do this independently, I'm going to retain the merchandising rights. And when Star Wars toys started to sell, he got a tiny slice of every single Star Wars toy ever. So
And still does.
So Disney had to have the same thing kind of in mind. And the toys related to the classic characters still sell. And with the exception of Kylo Ren masks, none of the new toys sell.
Right.
None. And so the thing that really bothers me is, I mean, we say get woke, go broke, but I mean, CNN, somehow they're still on the air. The Washington Post was failing, so Jeff Bezos just bought it and is keeping it afloat.
Now, CNN, they're still on the air, but they are going broke. They're hemorrhaging capital, they're losing revenue, and they're laying people off. CNN is going broke, but they're going broke from a very high peak.
But what I mean is they should already be broke. All of these companies should already.
They should.
I mean, how is Disney still in operation? Now, granted, a part
because
of the reason
people
why
still go and buy $30 hot dogs.
Well, but their park revenue is down as well. I was going to suggest that the thing that was keeping them afloat was Marvel, and that's why they're going to release Black Widow. They have no choice. It's the only thing that even has a prayer at making money. Because every single one of these shitty remakes is just, they're not good. They are not good.
Well, we are coming up on the hour, and I do want to end this on a positive note. And Cameron, I don't know if you've seen this yet. I didn't mention it to you earlier because I wanted to surprise you a little bit with it. Mark Anthony Austin, who played Boba Fett,
I have seen this.
he tweeted a picture of the Slave One and the poster, the Kuwait Shipyards Engineering Slave One with the serial number, and his tweet reads, "My ship will forever be Slave One. Nothing, not even Disney, can or will change that. This is the way."
this is the way.
Balls, my man.
Yeah. Might go give him a follow on Twitter.
No doubt. In fact, I'll do that in real time right now. Here, there's Mark Anthony Austin's Twitter, and I will follow at Boba Fet ANHSE. So now we're following Boba Fett. So
God, the internet is both wonderful and terrible. It's
as Steve points out, Scarlet is demanding changes to Black Widow as well. Yeah, I don't want to go too far. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole at all this morning, but I did notice that she's complaining about how sexy Black Widow is. Shut up!
Yeah, you're one of the most beautiful women on the planet. Can you stop humble bragging?
Just Jesus Christ.
Oh no, I look way too sexy in my new movie. Oh my God, talk about first world problems. But that's me. I have to go back to making donuts, sir. The last day of the month is. I did that responsible thing and actually asked for extra work, and now I have to do the responsible thing and actually complete the extra work.
Have fun with that. All right, guys, thanks for watching this morning. We will see you tomorrow. Well, I guess I will see you tomorrow.
I'll try and see you tomorrow. It's going to depend on just super quick. The reason why I've been missing so many Thursday shows is somebody else made a mistake. And so now everybody that has my job code has to attend conference calls on Thursday mornings. And I have been told that if the specific subject matter of the conference call does not pertain to me, I'm allowed to duck out early. So I get to find out tomorrow morning if I get to be on the show right around the time the show is supposed to start.
And hopefully I'll be able to shift gears rapidly enough to make that work out correctly. Y'all be safe, guys, and at least one of us will see you tomorrow.